Project Gorgon is a paradise from what MMOs have become. Not only is it one of the very few Kickstarter MMORPGs to successfully launch, yet it also breaks the WoW canonical MMO model. There's no MSQ, no quest hubs, and no predefined classes. There are entire towns you can't enter unless you're an animal, water caves you can't delve unless you have appropriate swimming equipment, and a community that's unlike any other. Hundreds to thousands of players regularly gather to play music, grant buffs, and share a festive time. Whether you want to grow a humble garden, bet on competing fighters in the Red Wing Casino, or freeze to death in mountain snow, Project Gorgon is both familiar, yet mysteriously unique. While it may not have the visual polish of Black Desert Online, the quality of life in Final Fantasy XIV, or lore-breaking forced attempts at inclusion in WoW, it has something better, a world players can get lost in, together. I'm Marl MMO, and I connect gamers to MMOs they love. I remember playing Asheron's Call 1 decades ago, and feeling excitement about its procedural loot system. I loved learning about the synergies in Ultima Online to craft my own build templates. Experiencing Katinas in Star Wars Galaxies was the ultimate MMO experience, as dozens of players gathered together to socialize. But the genre evolved, and so did we. That's why I'm proud of what Project Gorgon represents, how it overcame monumental challenges, and why MMOers looking for a new virtual world in which to play should check it out. When was the last time you felt like you were genuinely adventuring in an MMO, untethered to a main quest that every other adventurer must do? Queuing for dungeons in which no one speaks, or grinding eye level improvements that will reset during the next expansion cycle anyway? Project Gorgon lands differently, not because of novel systems, but how it interweaves ideas to create a tapestry of potential. There are no classes, there are builds. Imagine Guild Wars 1, except anyone can learn any skill. You mix and match two compatible skill lines, yet you have a limited number of available skill slots, so you can't mindlessly slot every skill. In terms of builds, Fennel, a Project Gorgon veteran with over 7,000 hours in-game, showcased some examples. He leveraged the ice skill to either make himself nearly invulnerable for in-game content, or to amplify his AoE damage when paired with knife fighting. In a callback to Bards and EverQuest, he showcased a support build that boosts the combat proficiency of others within a massive radius. He showed how he leveraged Project Gorgon's novel equipment system, something we'll revisit soon, to make him faster when pulling, more durable when tanking, and better primed for healing. But your main source of new skills is not just leveling up. Instead, you must befriend NPCs scattered throughout the world who may decide to train you should you convince them. Black Desert Online has the closest analog here. You give gifts to NPCs, complete quests for them called favors, and you hang out with them, an activity your character performs after logging out. They may be deep in a cave system, resting on the beach, or leading a forward camp next to a demonic incursion. Some are racist and won't talk to you, and others, namely animals, reasonably expect you to be an animal before they teach you how to fly or kick your hoof. But how do you become an animal? It's that core question of how that drives Project Gorgon's gameplay loop. You see someone riding a horse. How do I do that? You see someone being followed by their troop of skeletons, a spider on rollerblades, or a pig dancing with a bandit. Instead of quest hubs that predetermine your next play session, you may find an item that requires a certain skill to be learned, so you dig through the wiki to discover its other prerequisites. For example, I wanted a strong damage over time build using archery, but I couldn't find a trainer to teach me acid arrow. I had the proper reagents, as you need ammo to use abilities like in other old school games, but I lacked the training. It was in my search of the animal town in Sunvale that I so happened to stumble upon Squidlips, an aging druid who not only can teach you how to bottle breath-holding potions, something that would have aided me in a water cavern nearby, but also acid arrow, a much-needed ability when dealing with highly armored foes. Sometimes, NPCs may want you to cook food for them, craft furniture, or even provide goblin poetry before becoming your guide. Players who spent hours leveling up lumberjacking in Ultima Online will find similar synergies in Project Gorgon. In this way, every session can feel unique if you lean into the spontaneous nature of progression in Project Gorgon. A popular strategy is to participate in community events during the weekend called poetry jams, in which hundreds or even thousands of players gather together. It's by appreciating poetry, dancing in coordination, playing music with various instruments, and enjoying beverages that your character accumulates massive buffs that can last for hours. Those longing for a similar Star Wars Galaxy Cantina experience would feel right at home in one of these. Combat is approachable for those with RPG experience, yet includes unique elements that require study even from MMO veterans. The core mechanics are familiar. When an enemy's HP reaches 0, it's defeated. But armor not only provides damage reduction, it's also a resource. The more damaged one's armor is, the less mitigation it provides. In practice, this means the pace of combat tends to accelerate the longer the fight continues. Power and health function as you would expect, yet Project Gorgon has another useful tool: Combat Refresh. Skills tagged as basic can trigger this system that provides, based on the type of armor you are wearing, a surge of all of your combat resources. Like in Star Wars The Old Republic, there is no auto attack, so choosing when to use your abilities is more than merely completing a rotation. This is only the beginning, as some mobs are entirely immune to certain damage types or regenerate so quickly that flat damage alone is not enough to win. Thankfully, you don't have to understand every little detail, as combat is approachable even casually. Gear is an area in which Project Gorgon is head and shoulders above its competition. If you played Asheron's Call or any ARPG, then you are already familiar with its gearing system. Equipment can drop between 0 and 5 different modifiers. Crafted gear even comes with crafting points too, enabling you to customize them even further. This means that equipment made from crafters can have a higher potential ceiling than dropped loot. Modifiers can be as simple as increased health or armor, yet more frequently, they change what skills do. They increase your movement speed, storage space, add DOTs to DD abilities, and increase native attributes of summon pets. This approach to gearing makes every battle pregnant with possibilities, since you are one drop away from exploring an entirely new build. Crafting is an entirely other realm of gear enhancements that players have written books about. Literally, you can write books in Project Gorgon. More than fighting and crafting are other skills too. Kaskrim, a longtime player of Project Gorgon and a frequent guest in my coverage, showed me where you can find a particular breed of horse to catch, and then through selective breeding programs, sire those with traits you want. She graciously gave me a steed that was 10% faster than mine and with antlers, and she raised her own horse too. It's systems like these that set Project Gorgon apart. This observation bleeds into how progression works. The closest analog is old school RuneScape. In both, you don't have a character level like in WoW. Instead, what's important is the relevant level of the skill you're using in relationship to your activity. Since you can use 2 separate skills simultaneously, this means you have a wide range of choices regarding where and how you progress. You could use a more developed skill to power level a fledgling one, use only one skill to specialize and expedite progressing, or level comparable ones in tandem. And this observation extends beyond combat abilities. Even as a character with higher level combat skills, you can explore newbie zones to safely develop other skills like endurance that level as you take armor damage. This is similar to developing toughness in Kenshi. The more punishment you take, the more resilient you become. But unlike Kenshi, dying itself is a skill in Project Gorgon that naturally synergizes with necromancy. Alternatively, should you accept the risks, lower level players can join veteran players in higher level areas. I was shown Statehelm, Project Gorgon's most recent in-game area that reminds me of Verdant Brink in Guild Wars 2. During the day, it's a peaceful city that is overrun by thieving and poisonous foes at night. And Kaskrim showed me Vidaria, another in-game area that features pop-up events that help players band together. Project Gorgon is available on Steam. It has a free demo so you can see for yourself without spending any money, whether it's the type of game you want to play. When not on sale, it's about $25 without a mandatory subscription. The optional VIP plan is $12 a month and provides convenience features like additional bag and storage space. Regarding pay-to-win concerns, that concept isn't even relevant to Project Gorgon. It has a pay-for-convenience model, more akin to Path of Exile. It's as far from being heavily monetized as one can reasonably expect. And it's still launched, unlike Ashes of Creation or Star Citizen. When you log in, you'll need to choose a starting server. The newer servers will have more newbies playing who may be unfamiliar with how Project Gorgon works, so keep in mind whether or not you intend on asking for help. When you create a character, you'll notice an array of races, some of which have not yet been released or require a quest line to be completed before being created. When you first log in, you find yourself on an island. I can't emphasize this next point enough. Take your time. Read the dialogue. Learn the systems. What you discover here will help you navigate the rest of the game world. And since there is a large influx of players, reach out and group up. I easily join several groups in different zones. To preserve the spirit of the game, I won't disclose tutorial secrets, but just know that Project Gorgon gives you all the tools you need to succeed. Depending on how you leave the island, as there are multiple options, you will need to decide what your goals are. While a main quest technically exists, it does not serve the same guiding function as in other MMOs. I like to choose a skill to level, find a suitable location, join a group, and fill up with loot. You may find an item that you need more levels to equip, or when you return to town, your gift to an NPC enables you to learn a new ability, changing the trajectory of your next outing. It's this fluid progression style that both attracts players and scares others away. Another feature of Project Gorgon is how its systems naturally encourage communal playing. Some skills are inherently social, and since dungeons are open world, leveling within naturally causes players to rub shoulders, encouraging grouping. Beyond the design itself, because Project Gorgon is so unique, its players have a special connection to the game. Throughout its development history, Project Gorgon suffered numerous tragedies, ranging from fiscal dry spells to even the loss of one of its own beloved main developers. Project Gorgon's community has repeatedly rallied behind the game and its developers, and it's great to see it grow and blossom into the next phase of its life. It's true that Project Gorgon isn't for everyone. Those who want competitive PvP or mythic-style instance PvE will be disappointed. If you're looking for cutting-edge graphics or hyper-fluid animations, you'll need to look elsewhere. There are a few annoyances about the game that are helpful to know about too. For example, when you kill a mob, depending on how many skills you know, you may have to push several buttons for each mob. This breaks the flow of combat. Another issue is that you only learn experience for combat skills when they're used in combat. This makes sense on paper, but for secondary abilities that everyone uses, an auto toggle would feel amazing. And I know that you can use a glamour berry to hide the skin of your helmet, yet since this is a ubiquitous feature in online games, I wish we could simply hide our helmet. Plus, GPUs can spike in desert or rainy areas, elevated ping exists for EU players, and the default limit of a single character per account could be jarring. With that said, in my experience, the community has been more than eager to answer questions and help overcome obstacles. It's hilarious that someone left a negative review, then played another 800 hours. That's the charm of Project Gorgon. Is it perfect? Does it have something for everyone? But what it does seek out to do, it does well. And it warms my heart celebrating Project Gorgon's successful launch. From its early days being playable in a browser with a mysterious pot that turned people into cows, to now an expansive world with interlocking systems, it's a MMO that stands alone in its quirkiness, but together as a community. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more MMO content.